6 months doesn't sound like a long time, but it's long enough to make a significant change to the direction your career is heading. Hi, I'm Rajib. I'm a creative director with over 15 years in industry. I've hired creatives, mentored juniors and mid-level designers, and used this same 6-month framework with people who felt stuck, directionless, or unsure what their next move should be. This isn't about overnight success or massive life changes. It's about making a series of intentional moves that compound over time. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly what to focus on each month if you want your creative career to look different 6 months from now. Not perfect, but moving in the right direction. So let's start with month number 1. Get honest and get clear about where you are in your career today. So most people feel stuck because they're running on assumptions about their skills, their values, and what they think they should want next. This month is about replacing assumptions with clarity. So how do you do this? Grab a pen and paper and ask yourself the following questions. Take a look at your recent work and ask, what am I consistently trusted with at work? What do people praise me for? And what am I forcing myself to like because it feels on brand or safe? You also want to define what success is going to look like 6 months from now. Not vaguely, something observable and measurable, like a different role, different type of work, a new responsibility. It needs to be a clear next step. To do this, you really need to understand where you actually are in your career today. That's not always about looking forwards, but it's also about looking behind. I used to work for a sports consultancy, and he used to have a sports psychologist who used to come in, Tom Young here, and you can follow him on his Instagram at Tom_Cognite. And something he told me that really has stuck with me after all these years is a lot of professional athletes, they have this issue where they get to a point in their career, so their career has lasted for 10 years and they've seen a huge amount of growth in those 10 years. Now, a lot of athletes, if you're thinking about a footballer, for example, your career might only be, 10, 20 years at best. So if you've seen a lot of growth over a 10-year period, they really struggle to see that they can have that same amount of growth in the next 10 years also. And this is a huge mental hurdle you need to get over. And I had it myself. So in my career at that point when I met Tom, I remember sitting down at that session and he kind of said to me like, you've always got the handbrake on. You almost feels like you're doubting that you can have the same amount of success and the same amount of development in your career over the next 10 to 15 years that you already have. And understanding that really helped me unlock myself to move forwards. So I took some time, I sat down, I kind of looked at where I've come from in my career, like what has happened behind me, where I started out, how I got to where I am now, all the steps that took me there. And it helped me understand that actually I can do all these same things again to move forward and get higher and higher up in my career. And reflection improves learning and future performance. So it's really important to take that time to reflect on where you've been in your career. Month 2 is skill gaps and strategies. This is where a lot of creatives stall because this is where people try to improve everything at once. And that's just not the right way to go about it. Cognitive load theory teaches us that having too many learning goals reduces effectiveness. Instead, you want to look one level ahead, not 5 years, just the next role or opportunity you want, and ask yourself what skills make that step obvious. Identifying 1 or 2 high leverage skills, in your role, knowing what the next step is super important. That will help teach you what skill gaps you have, what skills you need to learn, and what software or soft skills, hard skills you need to develop over that time. But also, you need to compare yourself to the next level up. Not 5 years, not 10 years, just what the next role or opportunity is that you want to do. And ask yourself, what skills make that step obvious? A way to do this is to go on to LinkedIn Jobs, for example, find 2 or 3 jobs that you would like to do in the future, and take a look at their skills and experience section. You can copy all these bullets out into a bit of an Excel doc or a Google Sheet, and using a highlighter, just go through and highlight the cells that are the same, and you'll see there's a lot of similar things across the different roles. These skills are the ones that you really want to focus your time on. So, for example, in the role I've got up on the screen here, it talks about learning Figma. Now, if you don't have a Figma skill set, that's a skills gap that you have. And if the 3 roles you found all mention Figma, you know that you need to be spending some of your time learning a new tool and becoming expert at it and being able to talk about it in your portfolio. For example, in the job spec here it mentions Figma, so that could be an example for you. Maybe the 2 or 3 roles you find all mention Figma and you've never used Figma. So learning to use that new piece of software, finding a way to integrate usage of that software in your work, or doing self-made projects where you're using Figma, creating projects you can add into your portfolio or talk about on your CV is super important. And this is a great way to kind of identify what your skills gaps are. Only pick 1 or 2 skills and that's it, and commit to going deep on those. Usually the skills gap isn't just technical. It can also be things like communication, storytelling, decision making, or ownership. These are leverage skills, small improvements that unlock bigger opportunities. Month number 3, create proof. At this point you want to stop preparing and start showing. Work samples predict job performance better than resumes or interviews. Careers don't move on potential at the mid-level, they move on proof. That means case studies, new projects in your portfolio, examples that show how you think, not just what you made. This doesn't have to be client work, it can be speculative, self-initiated, or a reframe of a past project. What matters is that it clearly signals your next level. For example, if learning Figma was a skill gap that you had previously and you've identified that, you've spent the last month learning it, this month is all about finding ways to integrate that into your workflow. So it might be having a discussion in a one-to-one with one of your line managers and talking about how you can incorporate Figma into your workflow, or if that's not possible, it's about finding self-initiated projects outside of work where you can create that work and add it into your portfolio. This is where confidence starts to shift from hoping you're ready to knowing that you have evidence. Month number 4 is about visibility and feedback. Remember, you can't grow in silence. This month is all about making your work visible. Not perfectly, but just consistently visible. You can share what you're working on, what you're learning, and how you're thinking. You can also start conversations with people one step ahead of you. For example, your line manager or other senior creatives. Start having conversations with them, talking about the work you're producing and the way you're thinking about the work. You're not asking for jobs, you're asking for perspective and feedback on a project. It's about letting the right people know what you're capable of. In a few of my previous videos, I talk about making those connections outside of your team, and that's super important. The amount of times at work I've sat in a canteen, had conversations with people in other departments about a particular project I'm working on has really led to bigger opportunities and also people knowing who I am and what it is that I do from a day-to-day. Stanford sociologist Mark Granovetter, strength of weakness ties theory, argues that casual acquaintances or weak ties at work often are more valuable than close friends for accessing new information and opportunities like jobs, because weak ties bridge different social circles, providing unique information not shared within your standard tight-knit group, while strong ties offer support, but there's less novelty there. Strong ties share similar information, but weak ties act as bridges, connecting you to new ideas, diverse people, pathways to career advancement, new innovations, showing that less frequent contact can yield greater informational advantage. I'd implore you to take a look at some of his research. It's super interesting and there's a lot to learn there about building connections in the workplace and outside of the workplace. Month number 5 is positioning yourself for the next move. Now you want to stop waiting to be noticed. Performance alone doesn't guarantee advancement without signaling intent. So how do you do this? You update your portfolio, your resume, update how you talk about yourself so that it reflects where you're going, not where you've been. For example, if you want to take on more of a senior role, start talking like a senior. Don't talk just about trends and colors and font. Talk about strategy, talk about design thinking when you're talking about work. Then ask for more responsibility. I'm sure you have a one-to-one at work, or you have a line manager, or whoever it is that you report into. Take a sit down with them and ask for more responsibility, ask for better projects, or ask that you feel like you're ready for the next roll up. Ask for it calmly, clearly, show you evidence that you've built, these are the work you've been working on. Most managers assume silence means satisfaction. This month is all about removing ambiguity. I've had this a lot with a lot of creatives in my time. If you're not asking me that you want more responsibility, or you want to learn a new skill, or you want to move up in your career, I'm just going to assume that you're happy where you are in your career. Not all creatives have that growth mindset. They don't all want to move up the ladder. So you need to ask and make it clear to your line managers where it is you want to go. And finally, month number 6. This month is all about choice and removing panic. Here you're going to review what you've built, what skills stuck, and what opportunities have appeared. Then you decide, do you double down on what you've learned, do you pivot slightly, or do you change direction completely? Momentum matters more than certainty, and clarity comes from action, not from overthinking. 6 months didn't change everything, but it gave you control. Now you might be ready to take on a new role and start applying for new jobs, or to have that conversation internally and ask for a promotion or more responsibility. If you feel like there's still more for you to learn and you're not ready to take that big step, that's fine. Run the 6-month cycle again, start again from the beginning. Sit down, review what the last 6 months look like. Where do you want to be in the next 6 months? What you need to do to get there, start doing it, collate the evidence, start having those conversations, make yourself visible at work, outside of work, and then sit down and kind of think, am I ready to make that next step? Never ever stop growing. Don't stop growing, that's the biggest thing. So let's do a quick recap. Remember, 6 months won't make you famous, and it won't fix everything, but it will give you clarity, leverage, and momentum if you actually commit and stick to it. Remember, you're not stuck in your career because you're incapable. You're stuck because no one ever showed you how to move intentionally. But now you know.